Broadcasting live from the Wellness Wonderland, you're listening to the Wellness Wonderland Radio. I'm Katie, and each week I chat with the most inspirational people on the planet on how to stay inspired in all areas of life. As you listen, feel free to tweet at me at Katie Dalebout or use the hashtag Wellness Wonderland. I'd love to hear your aha moments. So grab your headphones and listen on the go, or cuddle up with a notebook as we dive in deep with authentic conversations right here in Wonderland. Hey guys, it's me again. I just quickly wanted to remind you that all the show notes with the links and resources we mentioned in this episode are available on my blog. So head there now and leave a comment for me or our guest, and we'll respond. And you can also find the entire archives of all the episodes from the Wellness Wonderland podcast and catch up on those at thewellnesswonderland.com/podcast-2. And if you guys are digging the show, it would be super duper awesome if you guys could leave me a review and a rating over on iTunes. It would be so helpful to bring more people to the show. Thank you guys so much for listening and leaving a review. And without further ado, here is this week's podcast. Welcome back, everyone, to the Wellness Wonderland Radio. I am psyched to be with my guests, Jesse and Rachel of Kooshoo, a apparel business that is rooted in feeling good and doing good. So this husband and wife team of co-founders have a simple mission in their business and their life, which is to help others feel good. How amazing is that? So that includes everyone from the individuals growing the crops they use to make the gorgeous clothing line, to the consumer, to how they feel when they're behind their computers working in their daily lives. So they operate their business from anywhere in the world, which is super cool. We'll get into that. And they always have their core values of honesty, transparency, and love at top of mind. So they sound amazing, right? So let's get into this. Let's ask them some questions. Thank you so much for being here, you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, what a wonderful introduction. Thank you.
Of course. So, all right, let's go into this a bit and talk about, I know there's a lot of overlap here, and a lot of people listen to my other podcast with Aaron, which you guys were guests on our With Purpose podcast, and we got into your brand and your background a bit there, and so we'll put that in the show notes so because I want to go even deeper here and learn some more stuff. But I think we should start by explaining how I love the story of how you guys met and how you traveled and found your vision for your business through that whole process. So I would love if you could kind of tell before we even get into the business how the two of you came together.
Aha. So that's a long story now. We've been together for 13 years. We've been married for coming on 4. So do you want to start with the very beginning?
I think that as most couples, I think that there might be kind of a differing first meeting story. But
I love this.
Basically, we were young, fresh. We were both spent our very first year of university on exchange, living in England at a university there. And we didn't know each other, but we just happened to be at the same school. And depending on who you ask, somebody saw somebody first, and we got together, became really good friends, and that was 13 years ago. So it's incredible looking back already. Over a third of our lives together. It's pretty special.
It's super cool. So did either of you have, I always love asking this, like a feeling when you met each other that it might be the one that you're with for a while?
I don't think a guy is the best person to answer that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's very diplomatic. For me, it was really clear, but I was pretty discerning at a young age as to what I was looking for in a life partner. I didn't let him know that, of course. But it was very clear. We're really young. He hosted my 18th birthday party. So, obviously our relationship has been, in the beginning, it's definitely like, the 20s, there's so much growth and development as an individual. Therefore, your relationship definitely changes and morphs and grows in many ways. So I always remember thinking, like, I could really see the phases of our relationship within our 20s, being like, yep, I've probably been in about 6 relationships with Jesse since we started, because it just shifted, and long distance, and it's everything I wished it to be. And it's grown and morphed in a really beautiful, creative, collaborative way. And that's how it's so successful, for sure. Yeah.
I love that. So when did you guys decide to become business partners through this relationship, and how did that change the dynamic of the relationship, and how do you kind of keep that in check even to date?
Mm-hmm.
It's a great question. So we both love traveling. It's in our blood. Our families love traveling, and I think that's why we were both overseas at school when we were 18 already. So that's always been a common bond of ours. And together, Rach and I have backpacked through different continents now over that 13-year span. And a number of years ago, probably about 5 years ago now, I was kind of full in career mode. Rach was in career mode. My background is in business and international sales. Rach is in design. And we got to a point where in my career I was traveling.
Great combo to start a business.
Yeah, exactly. And I was traveling about 3 of 4 weeks in a month. And it was always, I loved what I did, but I was always on my own. And we were spending a lot of time apart. And we got to a point in our kind of early career where we said, okay, well, we can either keep on this trajectory or we can totally shake things up. And we went for the latter and bought one-way tickets to Asia and spent the next year traveling together again, all across Asia. And
a little precursor. Before we went traveling, we got engaged.
Yes.
And I just kind of knew within ourselves that it was really important to spend some super quality time together doing and exploring and growing before we went into this next phase.
That should be a requirement for a marriage license.
I am a big proponent of that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Don't you think?
For sure, yeah. It's why not? Just see the true colors for what they are.
Yeah, that's so smart. It's so smart. Go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was on that trip where one thing that really was clear to us is everywhere we stopped, we would always kind of seek out the businesses, whether restaurants or yoga studios or stores.
Not even necessarily business spaces.
The spaces.
Yeah.
That were run by people that were living their passion. And we just found it so inspiring, because when you walk into a space where it's absolutely clear that this is somebody's dream, it affects you. I think that's what we all consider our favorite places in life. The coffee shop that you just love because it's run by somebody that loves what they do. And so I think just a combination of things, a combination of seeing some of the hardship that exists in kind of the manufacturing belt that is lots of Asia for America, seeing these people living their passions, and then looking at our life as we travel together and our backgrounds and saying, well, we should really combine all of this and see if we can also live our passion and live it together. And that's essentially the seed that started Kooshoo. And by the time we decided to move home, we weren't sure originally. We were thinking we'd be moving to Australia, but we moved home specifically with the intention of creating something together. And that was the seed that became Kooshoo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well put.
I love that. And I know exactly what you mean about, just walking into a place and a space and feeling that sense that you were talking about. It's like you can feel the energy of a place that's run from a genuine need being met, but also from a really good way of someone wanting to do good work in the world. And I think you can feel that in a, a physical space, or, I hope people feel that in the Wellness Wonderland, or
Yeah.
in the space that you guys have created, even though maybe they can't walk in and, hang out there.
Yeah.
So
one of the things that we, very consciously do is try to make it a space where people will feel comfortable. And part of it, I know it sounds cheesy, but we have a little pop-up that comes up for the first-time visitors to our website, and it's actually just Rach and I's face, essentially saying welcome, and it's kind of trying to be as close to the web will allow at this stage, to creating that experience like you're actually coming into our space, something that we're welcoming you into this space that we care so much about.
I love that. And it can definitely be felt. I mean, I think, it speaks a lot to the two of you, and also, Rach, to your design skills, because it's beautiful. The website is so beautiful.
Thank you.
But and so user-friendly, too. And I think that that's something that, people don't want to stick around in something that's confusing or that doesn't, look beautiful aesthetically. And you guys really hit all the nails on the head there. So let's get back into the brand then. So when did you decide that you wanted your business to be this organic clothing line, and how did you decide to go there in that direction with it?
Okay, so as Jesse was mentioning in the previous story on our big trip, so during that time we really got to refine really the philosophy and the purpose behind the company that we wanted to establish, but the actual service or product was not defined at that time. So it became very clear after getting back with one little snippet that was presented to us by his mom. She very sweetly gave him a pair of slippers, and we were very, very sensitive just with what we've been doing and kind of our awareness around, mass production and waste and things. And as soon as I saw these slippers, I couldn't help but think, I know they're from Costco. I know millions of them are selling. They're made out of fake foam and fake fur, so it's all polyester. It's going to go into a landfill by the end of this season, and they're selling millions of them. So that was the first thing I thought when I saw these slippers. So all of a sudden I was like, oh, so we actually started designing for the first year a shoe that could be worn indoor, outdoor, organic cotton and all natural rubber, handmade in Peru. So that's where we began our journey, actually, was in shoe design. And then after a year, then we diverged into making a product that was one size fits all. It actually was born out of my Kundalini yoga training. And so Kooshoo was morphed from there. So that's where it all began.
Oh, cool. So do you guys still sell those shoes?
Oh.
They're actually all designed, but they probably won't go into production, I'm guessing, for maybe next, I'm guessing a season or two.
The reason, so basically what happened, kiddies, we loved everything about it, but all of a sudden we got to a point, we spent just over a month in Peru working with this incredible third generation Italian Peruvian shoemaking family. It was amazing. But we got back and realized that we somehow managed to design a business that was more complex and complicated than we were ready to take on. It was going to demand well over 6 figures of investment. It was going to have multiple sizes. There was just risk on many, many fronts. So we actually just made a conscious decision. Like Rach said, she was in her Kundalini training. She saw that there was a big market gap for actually organic and consciously made accessories, especially for Kundalini and head coverings. And we decided to put our shoe dreams just on the shelf for 3 to 5 years while we developed a market. We learned how to do this business, and then at some point, we're so excited for it. We'd like to come back to that concept and bring those shoes to life. But by then, hopefully, we know exactly what we're doing, because you make a lot of mistakes, a lot of them costly, when you're an entrepreneur learning how to do this.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think that's a great, point to touch on. And gosh, I don't know where I heard this, but, they say to fail fast, right? You know, you
Yes.
learn things and then you move on and you come back to it, and you know that's just how it goes. So I think that's a great lesson to touch on, and I can't wait for the shoes whenever that is. So
I know.
that'll be awesome. So so then was the smoke shawl the first one size fits all item that came from your Kundalini inspiration?
So the very first product was actually our two headband lines. One's called the Who headband, and then the Enzo. So for me in Kundalini, it's highly suggested to wear a head covering of some sort while you teach. And I just really couldn't find something that actually functioned really well, because I like to do a really physical practice. And that just really felt like me. Something that was versatile. I could really wear off the mat, on the mat, anytime. So I got into designing like different styles and prototypes pretty early on. And that was the first kind of product for the yoga market. And then within that, I was using two fabrics, the organic cotton and then the tencel, which is the eucalyptus tree fiber. And having bought that fiber, we had a huge amount, so it was great. I had all this fabric to play for another product, and that's where the smoke shawl came out of.
So cool. And so that's really cool, you know, for Kundalini, that these, you know, they're just, I love them. I gotta get a bunch, but you find it's okay, you know, energy-wise, of not covering the entire head, that and I liked what you said. It's something that's still you know, a turban that still feels like you. And I think that really speaks to making yoga modern and making yoga transferable to people.
Yeah. So they're great. We've designed them so they can open up to totally cover the whole crown of your head. They're 8 inches wide. So when you open it up, it's like a bandana. So it just, like, for me, I'll wear it kind of multiple ways during the day, depending on how I'm dressed and what I feel like.
And what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a great traveling piece. Like, I use it all the time, like on the airplane as a face mask. If it's windy, just put it all over. It's really great for that too.
Oh, amazing. I'm so excited to have all of these links in the show notes, because I know people are going to be like in their car right now driving or listening to this one. Be like, I got to see this thing. So, pull over, people.
Be safe.
Yeah, be safe. Safety first. It's so cool. So so now, you know, let's bring people up to the present, and kind of, you know, we got into the background of how you guys got started, but how have you been surprised in the growth of your business? What have been some big moments that have just felt really good and juicy, that have kind of propelled you to keep going? You know, any of those moments?
Okay, so there've been quite a few. The most recent one of those was that we just finished our first Kickstarter campaign. It finished just about a week ago now, and that was fabulous. We've been live online for about it's going to be 2 years in November. So in that time, obviously, we've got we're really fortunate. We've got an amazing, loyal family of Kooshoo feeling people. And it was a great opportunity for us to get to expand our reach and communicate to a larger audience. And our feedback, well, it was really great. Within the first 4 days, we reached our initial goal of $10,000. So that was huge. And then it was great. By the end of it, we doubled it. So that was a huge accomplishment for us, and something that was just so strong and so apparent was just the support. Like, the support that we've had from the very beginning, the seeding of this company all the way through. We just wouldn't be here without the love and like energy from our surroundings. Like, this company is definitely made up from the community that supports it. So with everything from our first trade show, from our wholesalers, those great yoga boutiques around North America, everywhere you look, I think it says a lot to why we are doing this in the first place. We really do want to be affecting people in a positive way. And it's so beautiful because you send that ripple out, and that's exactly what you attract back. So it's been a very positive affirmation for us. So yeah, it definitely makes you keep up.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. And it made me think of something I wanted to highlight from before that I forgot when you guys were saying that you got started, you didn't really even know what the product was going to be or what you were going to do, but the mission and how you wanted people to feel when they saw your company or came to your website, you knew that first. And I think that that is such an amazing way for people to take an idea and put it into the marketplace. And I think everyone starting a business or an idea or a blog should have that same concept of, just ask yourself how you want to feel doing it and how you want other people to feel when they come, and then you can figure out what you even want to do. And I think that kind of speaks to the way you guys structured your business, right?
Very much. I think that's spot on, and I would absolutely recommend it to everybody, because one thing that you've surely seen with the Wellness Wonderland is that when you start something, you really can't predict where it's going to go. And sometimes in life, I know I have a tendency of wanting to have something all the way lined up or already perfect before necessarily committing to it or doing it. And sometimes you just need to start. And for us, by starting with knowing what we wanted to achieve, it got the wheels turning to the point that we started to see products and services almost everywhere that could accomplish what it was that we were actually looking to do. And the company, it was almost kind of like it's the cliched snowball effect. Like you start to feel that momentum, and then these opportunities present. And it was just kind of by stepping into that flow, so to speak, by putting our intentions out, saying this is where we're going, that all of these ideas came up. And I would absolutely recommend it to anybody that wants to start a business or really to change anything in their life, to put those intentions there, say what you want to achieve, what you're looking for, and then allow the coincidences to start to pile up.
Yeah. I mean, Rach, you'll know this probably. It reminds me of that Yogi Bhajan quote that it's like, when the time is on, you start, and the pressure will be off. You're never gonna have all the answers. You have to just start. And I mean, that what a smart dude. It's like don't give in to procrastination and just go, and then you'll figure it out on the way. Everything's figure-outable.
That quote gets a lot of play around in this house.
This in the Wellness Wonderland too.
Yeah.
I've got it on Post-its everywhere. Just start. I hope that's a takeaway for everybody from this one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, start, and the pressure will be off.
And it's so true. With anything that I like, when my to-do list is a mile long, I just wrote an article about overwhelm, and the only thing that makes me feel better is taking it one thing at a time and just doing something on it. Even if it's like a little thing, even if it's like organizing the list, like anything, you immediately feel relief. You immediately feel the pressure being off once you start. So it's a good one.
Yeah.
So
for all those people out there, start whatever it is your heart is yearning for in any way, shape, or form. Just start.
Yeah, it's like cracking your back or something. You know what I mean? I just feel such relief just by doing that.
Yeah.
For sure. So now that you guys are into it and you have started, what is the long-term vision and mission for your brand if you had to say, 10 years down the line?
Mission and vision.
That's great question.
That's very good.
We do put out, I guess, intentions of what we'd like it to be. Ultimately, we would like to have a company that supports us in being able to build this. That is something that is, realistic of having a business, being able to have a family and be able to offer our family opportunities, in their life.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. In terms of specifics and products, there's a lot of things that we have in the pipeline, and some really exciting things that we think could take Kooshoo in many different directions.
We're at a very, very interesting place right here, actually. We went away, we kind of touched on it just briefly, for 5 months this winter. And partly that was that previous trip we talked about, being away for a year. There'd been like 4 years in between that, from like the seeding of the concept to actually where we are now, which is being in the brand in our second year. And we were finding we were at a place where everything we had conceived, we actually, well, it switches and there's, it goes back and forth, but really we'd really come into and kind of manifested everything we had hoped for where we're at right now. And we're at a place where it's like, okay, we really need to reconnect with our initial inspiration and just, kind of get out of the to-do lists and just get some clarity as to where we want the winds to sail this beautiful, ship.
Yeah.
So that's partly why we went away this winter, which was great. That being said, while we were away, we came into some huge projects like our Kickstarter, and we became very focused again. So, which was a great success. So we're at a place right now where we've been really, we talk about it actively, probably every day. We have a lot of beautiful directions to move the company in right now, and we're at a place where we're actually sampling quite a few things at the same time. We can't actually tell you what they are right now because they're in the sample form. So,
but there are so many different ways.
Stay tuned.
Yeah,
it's
could evolve.
All of the products that we do, as you know, it's all about everything's ethically produced. So while we were away, we were looking at some beautiful collaborations with artisan work because I come from a creative background. I love handcraft. So we've been exploring some of that, just so you have an idea. Exploring the products that we already work with right now, making everything downtown Los Angeles, and some great products that I know that every day I wish I had, and I know that so many other yogis and just other consciously minded people that shop would love to have. So there's quite a few staples, and then quite a few really unique, beautiful products that are more like one of a kind, really small run that we would like to do. So we're kind of playing with bringing some big staple, beautiful products, and then also some really kind of more like boutique style things that kind of showcase unique kind of cultures and artisans around the world.
I can't wait to see whatever you guys cook up. It's gonna be great. I love that. So, all right. So now I want to kind of get personal with you guys.
Yeah.
So these questions are, more about you and less about the business. But as entrepreneurs, why is incorporating yoga as part of your life so crucial to you?
Do you want to answer first or me?
Yeah, I'll.
I know you both have different types of yoga practices too,
yeah.
So you guys can answer separately for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's been yoga. I'll speak on my behalf. I did a little bit of yoga over the last kind of 10 years, but I was very active in other sports, triathlons and stuff like that. And when we went away on that trip, yoga became a daily part of my life, my own practice, and that was spurred forward by some very fortuitous meetings. We had the fortune of doing an amazing yoga session and practice with Gurmukh. Gurmukh, who is a very well-known Kundalini instructor out of Los Angeles, and as Gabby Bernstein, who's also studied with her, as well as we went and sat with His Holiness the Dalai Lama in his home in India, and all of these other spiritual experiences. And over the course of that year, I wouldn't be able to pinpoint it, but I really began to appreciate how much that daily practice and daily meditation, even if it's only a small little bit, and even if it's just moving the body in a very small way, or in a more exercise-based way, whatever you need that day, and how much balance that brought into my life. And that practice has been there now. It's probably been about 5.5 years every day since. And I would credit it with so much of what we have been able to do with Kooshoo in the years since we made that decision to go traveling. And it just, in a word, it's balance. It brings balance into my life when the world can seem to be so chaotic, and you're always trying to keep up.
I love that. So Rach, your turn.
So I practiced, I've been practicing yoga, at least 10 years. There's a lot of yogis in my family, fortunately. 3 of my 4 siblings are yoga instructors. So
Wow.
we all teach very different styles, which is awesome. So I'm a very open-minded, well, I guess most yogis you think are flexible in the mind and body, but I'm very open when it comes to yoga and styles and practices. So yes, just like Jesse, it was fabulous that year away, getting to we kind of studied under 5 different teachers, and it, and I was also reading some great books, actually. I don't usually read a lot unless I have it's like a real leisurely thing, so unless I'm on a trip, and I read some great books, actually, a couple by Deepak Chopra, which was just perfect timing. And that trip with our daily practice, it was beautiful because we started to practice together, which was really, really special. And then for me, by the end of that trip, I had an incredible Kundalini yoga experience with Gurmukh. And within my first class, I'd committed to becoming like a Kundalini yoga teacher, which was quite a lot to take on. So in the following year, I then did my training. During that training, it's an incredible training in really developing that self-practice. So for me, with my self-practice and our business, it's definitely about balance. It's also for me about showing up to myself every day and saying, this is my time. It's my time for myself, for that beautiful, that infinite place within myself, that pure love, and just bringing all that energy that goes out all day and focusing it back inward. Mm-hmm. And within that practice, also opening. So the biggest thing for me, it's not the biggest, everything's so important, but within the balancing is the opening to a greater force. So for me, one meditation I do a lot is called Satkartar, which Yogi Bhajan, it's also used as a saying. So make it something happens in your life. I don't know, an apple falls on your head. Satkartar is like, oh, there's a greater force at work right now. So
I love this.
Yeah. So that mantra for me, and the mudra is amazing. It's opening from the heart and pushing open these walls. So for me, it's about opening myself to a greater power. So I don't always think it's about me. There's something bigger than myself, and it's about me just opening up, letting go, cleansing, and allowing that to work through me. And that really helps take off the pressure and just helps me every day to actually just have a beautiful moment of joy. Sure, of course, your practice isn't always joyful because it is a practice. And some days it's just about the discipline, like sit down, I'm going to have my time. But it really is, when I do that practice, it really helps me just find the lightness in everything all the time.
And just as a really quick side note, something just to very quickly take you back to Kooshoo is we don't really just want to focus on products. We want to help people introduce feeling good into their daily life. And a big part of that is we are both yoga teachers and sharing the tools that we use. And we've just started recording some of Rachel teaching her meditations, and actually just last week we launched.
So excited for that.
A meditation of Rach teaching Satkartar.
Yes,
that we
we'll
filmed.
Post that below.
Yeah, so I thought that would be a little segue there.
Yeah.
So with that segue, talking about Kooshoo and how we want to grow, really, which has become very clear, is being of more service to people. So whatever that could look like, I'm really excited about integrating more different, parts of being able to help people feel good about themselves, about, helping them live the life they wish to live. So whether that is, it could be anything. We're very, very open right now about that. So yeah, it's not purely product-based. It's really about helping people have a great experience in their lives, in whichever way we can.
Yeah, I think for entrepreneurs, it's tough not to have that mindset of being open. And, if you don't have that, it just may not be for you, because you have to really cultivate that sense of being flexible in the mind and the body, but, really to whatever comes your way. And I think that's, essential for the practice of yoga and for the practice of being an entrepreneur.
They definitely go hand in hand.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess, this will have to do with your yoga practice, your sadhana, but I would love to know if you guys could walk us through your morning routines. Maybe, and I know it probably changes depending on, where you are in the world and what day it is, but what does your typical morning look like? What are like maybe the first 3 things you do when you wake up, and how the specifics of how that affects how the rest of your day goes?
Okay, I'd love to answer that question. So we've just got back into our home, so more of our regular life now, because we were on the road for a very long time. And some of the practices that you cultivate at home, they don't always adapt well in new locations. So that's one reason I'm so grateful to be home, actually. So I learned a lot about being flexible in your practice while I was gone. So a typical, it was not like this typical for the last 5 months, but a typical day for us or myself. Normally, nicely, we actually sleep with mantra, which really helps, really quietly. I'll say that. Jesse's like, oh God.
Really, I do too.
Perfect. There you are. So that just kind of helps your subconscious mind while you're sleeping. Just stay in a really beautiful, neutral, open place. So
yeah, it's nice to not have like the silence sometimes in going to bed. I like having that playing too,
Yeah, it's a beautiful white noise to have in your room. So upon waking up, this is pretty typical for a Kundalini, someone that practices. We take a really short cold shower, and we so I'm not going to get into details, but you can find a lot on this. And you essentially like massage like your feet, your hands, your limbs, and you're just trying to wake your body up, getting it, all of the capillaries, all the cells rush out to the skin, you flush your organs, you give yourself a massage, and then when you come out, you feel completely awake and alert and excited for the day. It also clears the mind. I like to sing a little mantra while I do this. And then after that, we just like cleansing. Like I like to brush my teeth. There's a few things you can do to like actually cleanse your throat chakra in the morning, which I like to do. And then I come upstairs, I have a glass of warm lemon water to help my digestion get started. And then I go downstairs, I open the windows, turn on some music, and then I start my practice. So my practice can range, but a very typical kind of day would be put on whatever music I want to just help me feel peaceful and lovely. I'll do about 3 to 4 warm-up exercises for my spine just to get me comfortable sitting. Then I'll do maybe sun salutation, one kriya, like a couple sets just to get the energy going. And then I might do another short series. So in Kundalini yoga, there's kriyas, so a sequence of postures that will help you get a certain effect. So maybe there's one really short set that's great. It's keeping the body beautiful, and it just opens up the hips, it lengthens the sciatic nerve, and it strengthens the mullaband, so the base of your spine, and brings the energy up the body, so you feel very awake and alert when you're done. And then I do my daily meditation, which I've been doing 4 meditations for the last kind of 3 years. So I do those, and then I sat nam and I start my day.
I adore that, and I have more questions.
Yeah.
So, first of all, that sounds amazing. Is this 4 a.m. sadhana, or do you do it a little bit later?
Okay, so lately, that routine is like a typical routine. Lately, I've been doing my meditation before I go to bed because we've been jet lagged, and I've been sleeping in right until we start work. So I'll still do my morning like shower and like lemon water and things, but I'm actually doing more of my meditation practice before I go to sleep. So everything shifts right now. So sadhana time, I love morning sadhana when I was doing my training and I got to go into a big group. At home right now, it's definitely not at 4. It would be more like naturally for me, which isn't too early. It'd be 7 o'clock. So, and I just do it for an hour.
I love that. So with your meditation that you're doing now, tell us what that one is, and then, what is your favorite meditation and favorite kriya that you have?
Okay, favorite meditation. I've been I'm one of those people that I'll start a meditation and then I don't want to let it go because I'm one of those. Well, in Kundalini, if in our lineage, so if you, meditating is about training the mind. So and the duration of time that you do it for, like the actual time, whether it be 3 minutes or 11 minutes or 31 minutes, and then the duration of like days. So whether you practice it for 40 days or 90 days or 120 or 1,000, they all have different effects on the body in different levels. So with that knowledge, I never want to drop a meditation because I know I'm like, oh, I've done 90 days. Maybe I should do.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those people that I like, it takes a while, unless it's really just after my 40 days, if it's just really, I will let it go. But I kind of keep sticking more on. So I've been doing the last couple for probably 2+ years.
Wow. Never missed a day because you go back at one, right?
Yeah, not these ones. If I miss a day, finally I'm like, okay, I was meant to let it go, so that I'll finally be like, I get a different one. I have time. So the ones I'm doing right now, I do 4 right now every day. So the first one I've been doing since the very beginning. It was given to me by a beautiful Kundalini teacher, Sat Siddhi. And it's perfect because it opens all the chakras. And it's specifically for me when I requested a meditation, it actually opens your throat chakra. So at the time I was feeling a huge amount of energy in my heart, and I just felt like it's almost like when you go to speak and your throat cracks or something. I could just feel that the energy wasn't flowing out and into the world as strong and as fluidly as it could. So this meditation was actually given to me for that, but it affects all your chakras. And it's also a meditation that is the basis. It said when you master this meditation, you can then go on to master any other meditation. So I do that meditation. It's called Sa Re Sa Sa, and actually I've recorded that one.
Yes. Okay. Cool. We'll have that in the show notes.
And it's got 2 versions. It's also great to do on a full moon. The mudra's slightly different.
Nice.
Beautiful. And there's lots of great audio recordings. I've got them written down as well. So then the second one I do, which I recommend for so many people, it's all about conquering self-animosity. So that's what it's called. But in my words, it's about self-loving practices. And I noticed in my life and in my thought patterns that a good analogy would be you're running a race and you can see the finish line, but I could sprint and I know I've got it in me, but I don't want to sprint in case I trip and I fall and I've given it my all and then I fail. So instead, I'll just keep running at a good steady pace because I know I'll get there. So it's kind of this self-limiting mindset of cutting yourself short instead of being fearless and jumping off the edge and knowing that you're supported. So this meditation for conquering self-animosity, it's a beautiful breathing meditation, and it just brings you into your strength, but into a loving place so that your mind supports the core self. So that's the second one that I like to do.
Really nice. I love these. I can't wait for all these videos. It's going to be so helpful to everyone.
Mm-hmm. And you can do these anywhere, and it can simply be 3 minutes. In the videos, I just teach 3 minutes. You can do 11 minutes as long as you'd like.
How long do you spend in each of them each day?
So originally with all these meditations, they're usually 11 minutes for me, and then I line them up. So it's, 44 minutes of meditating, something like that. But over the years, once I hit my 90 days or my 120, then I'll shorten them down to 3. This is my technique. So I'll have various meditations going, and depending on the day, like if I'm super busy, maybe I'll do 3 minutes, but I'll be sure that I will always have the time for myself.
Yeah.
So I like to be flexible because naturally, hence having to do a loving meditation, I can be hard on myself. I can be very critical about myself and very judgmental and hold myself to a very high standard. And
you're not alone.
Yeah, and this is a practice of self-love and non-judgment. And if you can't practice that on yourself, you will not be able to practice that on others. So I really, really, really try my best to practice that. And traveling this trip was a very good testing ground for that, because my practice was definitely not what it is at home. And it was really good, though, because I still feel just as connected to my center as I did before I left, maybe even more so, which is beautiful. So it's just about flowing in your life and always honoring that place, knowing it's with you, and just doing the best for where you can and where you are. So yeah, that was a good thing. So everybody, don't be hard, just do the best and you'll get everything you need out of it.
Yeah, that's a great point to highlight too. Beating yourself up keeps you stuck. So just let that go, and I love that. So, okay, one final question I have about your practice. So I loved that you said that you kind of get things going with some sun salutation. So, I had this conversation with Gabby a while back about, mixing vinyasa styles with Kundalini, and I know that there's, kind of forget what she said, but I would love your insight on this. And I know, there's some teachings from Yogi Bhajan saying never to change a kriya, but when it comes to adding and fusing those two styles, what are your thoughts there?
So with I'm seeing two different questions. So the first one about sun salutations in the morning. So Surya Namaskara is actually a kriya. So it is a kriya in and of itself. A sun salutation is a perfect set as taught in Kundalini. So you don't need to worry about sun salutations if you're concerned, any Kundalini yogis. It's one of the first sets in your manual.
Oh, right on.
Which is great. But for me, I've also practiced a lot of hatha, so I might do some alterations within my sun salutation to just open me up however I need to that day. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, for sure.
Does it? Okay, and then the second one is a really great question. I am someone within my personal practice, and when I teach, I may teach a certain way because that is authentic for me. That is my Satnam, my truth, my essence.
Right.
But when I go to practice with other Kundalini teachers, I really love going to all different styles of teachers. I am not hard pressed that I have to be in a very traditional setting at all. I want an authentic experience of the soul of the person that's teaching to speak to that within me. So if I feel like there's someone and they're getting stuck behind all these barriers that they're trying to communicate through because they think it has to be a certain way, sometimes I want to feel the essence of that person coming through. So however that may be, that's wonderful. Of course, I want them to be respectful of what they've learned, so that they're teaching mindfully and that they have an understanding of where it's all coming from, so they can make it educated choices. But ultimately, I want it to be the most authentic delivery as possible, because that's what's going to bring me into my authentic self. So that's how I'd answer that.
Yeah, I love that. And I don't know if this is a quote from Gabby or a quote from Yogi Bhajan, but, all people want from you is your authentic truth. And I think, when it comes to yoga and it comes to, the guide leading you, I think as long as they're authentic, that's it, right? That's what people want.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Jesse, I know your practice is a little different. Talk to us a little bit about your practice.
Yeah, I have a background in Hatha yoga. I'm a teacher of Hatha yoga as well. So I've come to yoga a little bit more from that side of the picture. But that being said, being married to a Kundalini yoga teacher, Kundalini, as you know, is something that is very much taught not just to be on the mat. It's an entire life system, essentially, from the cold showers that Rach mentioned through to daily meditations and just the general way in which you live your life, and being together with Rach and supporting and being there with her as she did her teacher training and has evolved as an incredible teacher. It's deeply influenced my life and my practice. So for me, I do a lot of the same routines. The cold shower. I have very similar meditations that I do daily. And then a little bit to answer your previous question is I've also done some training in Kundalini. I haven't done a full teacher training, but something that I love is at home I've got some kriyas that I do in my daily practice, and I've been teaching them interspersed into my hatha practices at a bunch of the locations that I teach, and people love it, which doesn't come as any surprise really, because I love it and it's obviously coming through in a very authentic way. So what I would try to do is I'll build a hatha sequence where you can fairly seamlessly integrate an entire Kundalini Kriya into the flow of the practice, and then flow it back into a hatha to wind down, for example. And like I said, I found for me that's what I practice at home, and then when I go and I teach that in a class setting, people respond so strongly to it.
Yep.
And he'll teach the Kriya in its entirety. So some teachers, other disciplines may not do that, but just when Jesse teaches, it's really beautiful because once you practice a Kriya enough, I'm thinking of one that he teaches that is amazing for the solar plexus, the navel center, and when you really practice it enough, as a practitioner, you'll naturally know, okay, what type of postures do I want to warm up for this series, and what postures are really going to benefit me at the end of this series. So it's great. So with his hatha, he's got the creativity to be able to then create a beautiful flow leading up to this beautiful set of postures, and then a beautiful flow to allow the body to kind of come together and allow that all to consolidate. So yeah, he's got some lucky students.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds amazing, and I honestly do the same thing in my classes, and I know, when I got really into Kundalini and started to know and memorize these kriyas, and it's funny. I like to say I practice with Gurmukh all the time because I do her Kundalini DVD. Yeah. And I especially those ones that I would do over and over again, I would really have in my mind. Yeah, and so, I would just incorporate, different meditations and, start doing Breath of Fire and teaching Ego Eradicator or teaching different things or frog poses or, different things, incorporating in them. And when they were new, people were like, what's going on? What's going on? This is not like the last girls class, And then eventually they were like asking for it. Like, why didn't we do that Ego Eradicator thing this week? And I was like, oh guys, we'll get you next week. Yeah. But it's just funny because it's like, I was nervous to incorporate those things because I didn't know, if that was okay or, how people would react to it. But people are genuinely open and people want it. People want these tools and people want them fast, and people are waking up and people need them in their lives. And I think, it's our responsibility. And again, I'm not sure if this was Yogi Bhajan or Gadvi, but she says, if you know one Kriya, teach that. If you know one meditation really well, teach that, and I know Yogi Bhajan said he wasn't here to create disciples, he was here to create teachers. And I think it's very easy, and you kind of touched on this, Jesse, when something's working for you, to whether it's your diet or your exercise routine or whatever it is, to want to push that on other people. And I know in my life, just my personality, I tend to be that way. If something's working for me, I want everyone in my life to be doing it too. And
Right.
and it doesn't work that way. People come to you when they're ready. And I think I heard a story from Gabby when she was doing her teacher training. Gurmukh, she was saying, hey, I think my husband's getting a bit freaked out. Like, coming home in these turbans and my whites, and I'm so excited. I'm singing these mantras all the time, and and Gurmukh said to her, "Take that off. Take off your whites when you go home. Take off your turban." And she was like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, just be the lighthouse, and he'll come to you, and he'll just want to know, that you're feeling so great, and he'll see that you love it so much from you just being the light." And it sounds like that is kind of what happened in your relationship too. You saw it benefiting your wife so much, and then you wanted some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head there.
I'm really glad you touched on that because I just met with some dear Kundalini friends, the teachers that I rarely see, and both of them had mentioned, which was kind of a surprise to me, how fortunate I was that my husband could share in our practice, and how one of them was mentioning that her husband can't stand mantra. Like every time he hears it, he turns it off. Like it's got to that place, and the other way, it's kind of two similar stories, and it was really good for me because I was like, gosh, yes, got to remember my gratitude. I can't just take it for granted. But I'm really glad you're mentioning that because exactly, it's not about just be that and enjoy it for yourself, and you don't need to say a word.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, not even just with your sadhana or your practice, just, like I said, with your diet or with anything, I think that's a great takeaway for people. Diet's a big one on that. And the other thing I think, and I don't know obviously what the case was with your friends, but maybe it was too much too soon for them, and it's just patience. And that's rough. That's rough for me. That is a big practice for me of not trying to push things on people just because I come from a place of I love things so much and I want to share. And honestly, that's why I do what I do, to be able to do this to people who are wanting to hear it and willing to hear it and are ready to hear it. So I think
that's so important. Yeah, as somebody that I'd done some yoga over, like I said, about 10 years, but it wasn't until that trip that, for whatever reason, I think it was a few different teachers, that I started to appreciate it for what it is for me. And I stopped kind of seeing, I think before I saw what it does for Rachel, and I tried to, for yoga to be that same thing for me, and it just wasn't working. And because of that, I did admittedly have a bit of a adverse reaction to yoga. And I think that's incredibly common, especially amongst men. And I think that something that I teach, or that I tell my students almost every chance I get, is, it might be great that you're having a good experience here with me, but go and practice with as many different people as you can, as many different teachers, because we all have things that resonate with us at different times in our lives. And it's not reality that one thing that resonates so powerfully with one person is going to resonate the same with another person. And I think for people to come to their own realization of if they want a spiritual practice in their life and if it's going to work for them, they really need to sample, because there is some voice or something out there that is going to resonate with them, and it's going to help them draw them into that circle, so to speak. And that's what worked for me, was taking some of the pressure off myself and just allowing that this experience is just what it is to me. It doesn't have to be the same cathartic experience that it is for Rachel.
I love that. And just knowing that, what it is for her will be different than what it is for you, and respecting that. I think is so crucial. Yeah. So crucial. Oh, this conversation has just gone in so many good directions. I don't want it to be over. I just want to hang out with you guys all night.
One little quote I thought of when you're talking about patience.
Yeah.
By Yogi Bhajan. It's so simple. It's just patience pays.
Yeah.
And boy, does it pay, because that is, I'd have to say, one of the virtues that I've had to get to know very closely with our business. You do so much work and you just want to see the results, and patience and just letting go and just saying, time is in your hands, you know. I do what I can and then I let it go, and I'm just going to be patient, and I know it pays. So it's a nice one. It feels good.
Patience pays. Wait. Let the hand of the divine work for you. Oh, it's so good. There's that Mastin Kip reads that poem by Yogi Bhajan, and have you heard it?
I'm gonna. Well, I probably have, but not recently.
Yeah, I'll send you guys the and I'll post in the show notes for sure. But it's on YouTube. But he puts it like over a mantra, and it's so good. I haven't done it in a while, but I would meditate with it on every morning for, a really long time. I use a different mantra now, but I love it. And I play that a lot actually in my yoga class, and it's the most requested thing. Every single time I play it, everybody floods me after and is like, hey, can you send me that playlist? But just for that song. It's so good. It's so good.
Okay, well, I am really excited.
Yeah.
I'd love that if you could share it.
Oh, for
that
sure.
Sounds fabulous.
Yeah, you're going to love it. It's
Yay!
really rad.
Yeah,
it's super cool. God, the time has just flown on this call. So let's wrap with some quick fire questions. You guys ready for them?
Wait for it.
Do it.
All right. So we'll have to do double take on these. So favorite colors for each of you. Color, but for each of you.
I don't know if white is included.
Yeah, it totally works.
Okay. Oh, I like soft pink, like a pearl pink. I like white. You go, Jesse.
Sometimes I find that I'm out and about and notice that I'm wearing all green, so I think that says something.
I love that. We used to have in school dress just one color. You would have been great on that day.
Yeah.
Favorite things to do for fun? Maybe something outside of yoga.
Yeah.
Travel. I absolutely love traveling, experiencing new cultures, new foods, new people. It just fuels me in a way that I've never found anything else that does that.
Yeah, I love traveling with Jesse and doing stuff like that. I also just love walking and hiking.
Yeah, walking
I don't know
is so
if
fun.
fun is the right word, but it is fun.
Yeah,
it makes me lighter and happier, and especially in the spring.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun getting to eat berries while you walk. It's pretty awesome.
Well, I don't get to do that where I walk, but that sounds amazing. I want to go forage. I wish we were having this conversation while we were on a walk and we were foraging for berries and mushrooms.
So nice. Yes.
That sounds amazing. Favorite day of the week?
Tuesday.
Why Tuesday?
I was born on a Tuesday.
I love that.
Easy answer. I've always been partial to Thursday, excuse me. I like the fact that you're still in the work week,
yes,
but you see kind of the horizon there now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my favorite. It's like that Christmas Eve effect. You know what I mean? It's still fun, but you've got more fun coming.
Totally.
I really like Thursdays too, and I like weekdays too. So it's best of both worlds.
A Tuesday's good as well, apart from my birthday. I like it because Mondays I can find really overwhelming. There's so much. And by Tuesday, I'm actually starting. I've got a whole week to get this all done. So I feel like time's on my side.
Yeah, that's actually true. I can get behind Tuesday because you think Monday, they're so exciting and everybody's it's kind of stressful. And then Tuesday, it's the chillest day of the week. It's you're not excited for the weekend. You're not overwhelmed by last weekend anymore. You're over the whole Monday fiasco, and it's not hump day, so it's chill.
It's just a nice day.
Yeah. I like that. So what is your number one piece of advice? You could just give one thing to entrepreneurs. Go.
Be kind to yourself. Definitely. You want to do everything all at once and for it all to be done and for the money to be rolling in and for changing people's lives. But it's what Rach said. It's patience pays, and in the process, just find that kindness towards yourself.
Learn and grow as much as is presented to you.
So good. Both of those. So good. What's your favorite part of the life that you guys have designed for yourself?
Flexibility.
Getting to spend it together.
So good. Favorite vegetables? What a segue.
Yeah.
That is a good one. Avocado fits in every food group, right?
I was going to ask the same question. This time of year when spring starts to roll around, I always go on a big zucchini kick where I start to barbecue them and put them in everything. And I think it's just refreshing and nutritious at the same time.
I'd back you on that. I like zucchini every way.
Yeah. Do you guys ever freeze them for smoothies and to make ice cream?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you got to do that.
On the website?
I don't know, but I should. I do it all the time, so I should. Good idea. Maybe by the time this comes out, I will put one up, and it can be in the show notes. But I'll send you guys one. Yeah, Just blend it up with a bunch of greens or something to sweeten it a bit, coconut, and it's like super good. Yeah.
Oh, sounds so good.
Yeah,
Thank
super
you.
good. Yeah.
I love ice cream.
Yeah. Favorite fruit?
Oh gosh.
So is avocado a fruit or a vegetable?
It's a fruit.
I'll do avocado.
Gee, we're so unoriginal here.
Called it.
I'm really all over the board right now after be traveling for so long. I'm kind of just I'm not in any routines. I'm tasting everything kind of new. But I've been really liking, which sounds so boring, apples, but not from commercial apple trees, like the really small ones you get that are like green, just turning red. I don't know how you explain them. You can't really get them at a lot of places.
Yeah. Are those called crab apples?
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. I know what you're talking about, though. Yeah.
They're kind of they're super, they're tart and sweet at the same time. Yeah, I'm into apples.
Yeah, I love me an apple. So what is the best meal you guys have eaten recently? Like, let's say the last, I know you guys have been traveling about 2 weeks or so that just sticks out in your mind. Maybe one you've eaten together.
At Ambleside, that was good. From Kooshoo.
Oh yeah, we live in Vancouver, and Vancouver is, I don't know if for any of the listeners who have been to Vancouver, there's 3 things on every block in Vancouver. There's a yoga studio, there's a Starbucks, and there's a sushi restaurant. And it's very cliched, but it actually is true. It's ridiculous here. And sushi is a big part of our lives. And as soon as we got home, one of the first things we did is there's this awesome little sushi spot that we go to, and we get takeaway, and we take it down to the beach and just park in front of the ocean and eat delicious, beautiful, fresh sushi, and it's so good.
Oh, that sounds so fun. I just want to come hang out with you guys.
It's fun. They do great brown rice, and they've got really creative veggie rolls, so it's a real treat.
I love that you take it down and eat it by the ocean. Oh my gosh, I need to just move to Vancouver and move in with you. Yeah. We'll do sadhana. It'll be so fun.
We'll go get coffee, do yoga, and eat sushi.
Oh my gosh. And go on walks. Don't forget our walks to the foraging.
The wild blueberry bushes.
Oh, so cool. Yeah. All right. So we talked a lot about travel. So you probably know this is coming. Favorite place that you've traveled to?
Can that include a place that you were born?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm starting to appreciate it more and more and more. Norfolk Island in the South Pacific. Yeah, it's a little island. It's just 3 by 5 miles. It's 800 miles north of New Zealand, and then literally just in the South Pacific. So just ocean. So if you're trying to figure out maybe some other islands, Fiji would be above it. And it is just, after traveling for 5 months in various places, the pristine nature that is there, the peace and tranquility, because it's a tiny population of 1,100 people. It is just so, it's just so good on your whole body, mind. It's just, yeah. So that's where I want to go to, relax, rejuvenate, refresh myself.
So did you were born there, Rach, but you didn't grow up there?
I was born there, and then I lived there till I was 14, actually. So quite a time, yeah.
And then did you move to Vancouver, or where did you guys?
My mom's Canadian, so my whole family actually then moved to Victoria, which is on Vancouver Island, really close to Vancouver. And my family has been based there, though our family home on Norfolk Island, we turned it into a tourist retreat. So we still get to go home every time we go home.
Oh, that's amazing. I want to go there too.
Just as a side note too on that is Norfolk Island has its own language. It's descendant of Old English and Tahitian, and the word Kooshoo, which is our brand name, is one of the most commonly used words on Norfolk, and it literally means feeling good. So that's where we got our brand from.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Jesse, because I knew that from the last interview, but I definitely wanted to touch on that because I adore that name.
And I would say for me, the answer at Norfolk Island is absolutely paradise, but because it's taken Tibet would be for me. Tibet, I've had a infatuation with the culture, with the people, with everything about it since I was actually just a little kid, and got to kind of realize a dream of going there. And it was a very bittersweet experience because of just meeting a lot of Tibetans that have had some very tough lives because of just the circumstances they're dealt. So, but in terms of people, the place,
the nature,
the mountains, it's phenomenal. It's just absolutely incredible there.
Yeah, that's one of those happy hike places.
Yeah, super cool. So, what are you guys' favorite movies?
I'm very critical when it comes to watching movies. I value my time so highly that it's like one of those things. It's like this movie better be really well researched if I'm going to sit down and give it 2 hours of my time. So poor Jesse. He's always trying to find a good movie for the two of us, and I'm like, my favorite movie or kind of movie.
For me,
you're better.
I come from, like, my youth, my heyday was like the Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, those types of movies, and anything with Chris Farley. And I've just got a real soft spot for that type of comedy. So the first thing that came to my mind was Dumb and Dumber.
Oh my God.
And I haven't probably seen it in like 8 to 10 years, but I just know how much I loved it back then. So
I love that. It's so funny. I tend to be like you, Rach, where it's like I'm to the point now where I really only watch movies that I've seen before because I know I love them and they make me feel good.
Awesome. I'm going to hit your movie list.
Yeah.
Or I really love cinematography. So if you're going to take me on a visual, like, incredible experience, I'm right there.
Yeah.
So that's for me. Yeah.
Favorite books?
Okay.
Have you, do you know the author Bill Bryson? I think he's originally from Iowa, and he's got this incredibly dry sense of humor. And he's been writing travel books for about 20 years. And a couple of years ago, he wrote a book called Short History of Everything, I think, or Short History of the Universe. And it's like making science and learning fun. And it's literally everything known in a very fun and quirky and often funny way about the Earth and our time on it. And it's excellent. I've read it 3 or 4 times, and I still can't remember nearly anything.
Because it's full of facts, right?
Yeah, so many good, those facts that you just need in your pocket every now and then. That's just full
conversation starters.
Yeah, the real quirky facts. I'm just reading another one of his right now again, and it's like in England, anytime you go into a church, a lot of the churches there have been around for 1,000 years, and based on just having held the graveyard for 1,000 years for the communities that have evolved over there, what you'll notice is when you go to a church in England, you almost always have to step down to enter the building, and it's because you've got literally up to 20,000 people buried in the front yard of the church because of over 1,000 years. Everybody from the community was buried there.
You're hilarious.
Very random, but just stuff like that just I find just kind of quirky and funny.
I think I heard that when I was studying abroad from my professor, which makes sense because he gave me that name to read a book from him, and I remember finding it like a year later, Bill written down on a little Post-it in my bag, and I never read his books, but it's like now the universe is like telling me to do that.
Yeah, it's come back around.
It's good stuff. It's funny and it's informative and it's nice reading. So.
Nice and light.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm a person that reads. Okay, I don't really read. Well, I read for pleasure, but really I like to read to learn. So I'm someone that will read like. Kundalini manuals. No. Oh, exactly. But
the Deepak Chopra book.
Yeah, that was awesome.
What was it called?
Which I've read a few of them and I can't remember the name of that one specifically. 7 less. Sorry, I can't even tell you.
Well, they're all good. Anything Deepak is good.
They're all good. But The Secrets, the 7. Anyways, it's all good. For me, Seriously, I garden. I like to leave the house, get my hands in the dirt, and actually, I like to get away from. For me to relax, I like to do things, and being in the garden and nurturing and making things beautiful. It feeds me so much.
I love that. And then you can listen to an audiobook while you do it.
See, that's what I got to figure out.
Multitask, right? Or a podcast.
Yeah, precisely.
Well, this has been amazing. And now I have to ask you guys the question I ask everyone who comes on the show. And so you guys probably know what I'm going to ask, but you know the name of this podcast and the name of my blog is The Wellness Wonderland. So when I offer that term to you guys to live in a wellness wonderland, what comes up?
For me, it's make sure you have that time in your day every day to be able to truly listen to what's going on for you. And then in that listening, take action however that needs to be to keep your body in harmony.
So good.
My wellness wonderland is friends, family, lots of nature, and just balance. Just living
good food.
Yeah, good food. Just living a balanced, respectful life and enjoying our time here.
I love that. And all your answers. Thank you guys so much. We'll have all of the links and how people can get in touch with you and hang out with you guys online in the show notes. But is there anything else that you guys want to leave people with? It's been a blast hanging out with you.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
I mentioned this with the podcast that we did with Aaron, but I think it's worth repeating. I just think it's so amazing what you're doing with the Wellness Wonderland and to spread these messages and take these stories and share them, because I do think for us, seeing all those people living their passion when we were in Asia that year is what spurred us to make a change in our lives. And I think that what you're doing is making that really accessible to people, and it's so good. It's just promoting more good in the world, which is exactly what we need.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for hanging out in Wonderland, and thank you everyone for listening.
Beautiful.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. You made it all the way to the end. I'll be back next week, but until then, let's stay inspired and keep this conversation going. So tweet at me at Katie Dalebout and our guest with your aha moments from this conversation. And like the Wellness Wonderland on Facebook, so we can all hang out there and discuss how inspired we are and how we'll apply it in our daily lives. And never miss another episode or post from me by signing up for email updates on thewellnesswonderland.com. See you back in Wonderland.